Let me start that again. Here we are. It's another Saturday night. I didn't hit my microphone, so I apologize for that. We'll wait a couple of minutes here to see whoever pops in this morning. This morning? Wow. It's been a long couple of days, but I think it's morning. I hope everybody is doing well out there. I know storms are rolling through different people's areas. I know we got rain coming through our area at the moment. A lot of people seen the tornadoes that have been coming through Arkansas and uh, Missouri, lower part of Missouri. So it's pretty. Now, all I know is three people dead in Missouri, which is unfortunate. It's pretty sad, but yeah, I hope everybody watching it now or even later is doing okay and they're safe and sound. Apologize for the mess behind me. I was trying to piece together a floor back there. Good evening, Mr. Jorge, brother Jorge. How are you? Good evening, sir. It's good to see you here this evening. We got quite the storm brewing out there. A lot of wind, but right now, okay. It's what's the old saying? Calm before the storm. So that's rolling in from Middle Tennessee. I think it's. I'm not going to get the full brunt of it, but it's possible. You never know. 'Cause sometimes we'll lose internet out here in the rural country and farmland. I feel like sometimes that's where we are. But so it's a chance we could go down, we can go out. And I'm on call this weekend, so there's a chance I could be out on call or get a phone call this evening. I'm hoping not, especially with the storm. Um, I'm hoping that phone does not ring, so I have my backup, my work phone to go just in case. But yeah, it's. I was watching a lot of it last night. I was working on the two new books that I'm trying to work on right now, and I got distracted and started just watching the storms. It's really bad out there, real bad. And I did think about last night. I thought about today how any moment, especially after the three dead that I saw on the news in Missouri, um, any moment it's all over. Any moment, and we need to pay attention and realize that we're on borrowed time in a way. We're only here for a short time, and some of us may be shorter than others. So we can't fool. We can't fool around with sin. We can't fool around and just playing footsies with the world, and because the time is growing short, and we don't know what our time is, but I would pay attention to that because when you look at these storms coming through, and I hope people are okay, or some people are made it through, and maybe it's a realization of how one should live life. I think that's the main point here: to stay strong, stay on the right path. That's the key here. But man, it's crazy out there. But other than that, I hope everyone else is doing well, brother Jorge. How are you doing up in that neck of the woods? I don't know what the weather is like, but how's your week gone so far? I hope work has been decent. The weather's been decent, especially for you working outside. Most of the time, working outside, I would say, or building things and putting together offices and dental offices and all that kind of stuff. I hope the weather has cooperated with you. I know you're going to have a lot more opportunities to have better weather coming. Being in that part of the country, you got the spring, summer coming through, so that's going to be good. I'm happy. I'm happy spring is here. Yes, spring is here. Not bad. It's good stuff. The weather has been a little kind of wonky here. It was what 80 the other day. It was 2 days ago, 3 days ago. It was 80 degrees. Then it dropped down to 70, and it was like 75 or something like that. So the weather is getting much better. Of course, this weekend I was hoping to put up to extend the chicken fence, but was not able to do so. The weather is not going to cooperate when it comes to that. So that is out the window. I don't know what tomorrow will look like. I haven't looked at the full forecast for tomorrow, but it's going to be pretty wet out there. I can tell you that after all this rain blows through. So, unfortunately, the rest of that chicken fence will probably have to wait till next weekend because I can't, you know, Most likely, I won't get to it during the week. Hopefully, I will. I'm trying to work on these floors, but always something. Always something. Um, but we'll see what goes down. Um, and like I said, you probably have better weather now. I don't know if you're doing inside work at the moment. Usually, you guys all shift from outside to inside work when the weather goes a little crazy in the wintertime. Some guys in construction just don't work mostly through the winter. I know a lot of guys I knew up north over the years when they weren't doing the construction and landscaping. They were part-time snow blowing and snow plowing and stuff like that during the wintertime to offset the cost of not having jobs during winter. Because as you know, sometimes it can get real cold, a lot of snow up there. Although you can't always count snow because there's been some season where the drivers up there complained that they didn't have any snow. They didn't have enough snow to make it through the winter to make a living. So that can be an issue. I mean, down here for me, the rain is, believe it or not, a problem. For me as a driver down here, the rain, I don't care about snow and stuff. I've driven that for years, but down here the soil is different. It's much different. I do whatever the boss says, inside, outside, hot or cold. Fair enough. Fair enough. That's not a answer. But yeah, the rain causes an issue because of the it's a different type of clay mud down here, which I had to get used to in Tennessee because up in the north, this type of soil didn't exist. It just it's real slippery, real fast. In mud up north, you get stuck in mud, you can get out of it pretty decently over time. You can wedge your way out and create all types of ways to get yourself out of those predicaments. Down here, when you hit that type of clay, mud, whatever they want to call it, you're done for. You're not getting out. So that affects our driving in certain driveways because a lot of people down here, I'm just throwing out a hypothetical. I'm throwing out a guesstimate for a number. I would have to say maybe 60, 65, maybe even 70% of our customers got some crazy driveways. Maybe 60. I'll go with 60%. Have a lot of longer driveways because down here in Tennessee, homes are often off the road. So if you're going down a large road, if you've ever been down Route 2 up there in Massachusetts, or even I think 111, actually, that might be a back road, but 2A, those 3-lane roads or big wide roads, a lot of homes are still, pretty close to the road. Down here, they keep them more offset off the road. So there's a lot of frontage out there from the street. So the driveway goes down further than up north. And a lot of them are either gravel or loose gravel or dirt and clay and mud. And so getting down into them, why there's not as many paved driveways down here, I don't know. But they're real big on the gravel and stuff like that. So one day I'm going to have to start asking those questions. Why just gravel and rock instead of paving? I don't know if they just don't like to pave. I don't know. I'm going to have to find out though. But so the driveways can get really, really bad. So hopefully that phone, like I said, doesn't ring because I hate to be in a situation where I won't be able to go to a patient who needs oxygen. They're going to end up calling an ambulance. And that's a bummer. Actually, I went to one call. I might have talked about this about a month ago. I had to bring a tank to the hospital because you give them a tank before you go set them up at their home, an O2 setup. So before you set up a concentrator and all that kind of stuff, so they can breathe at home, you got to bring them a tank so they can be released. So I get there and I'm telling them, okay, when do you get discharged? And I'll meet you at your house for the setup. And they told me, you're not going to be able to go to our house. I'm like, okay, because you won't be able to get up our driveway. You won't get across the rocks. It's a terrible mess up there. I'm like, all right. I'm thinking, well, y'all got here. But what happened was funny, not funny. An ambulance couldn't get up to get this person. So their neighbor on that road had to drive them in an SUV down that driveway / mountain hill, whatever you want to call it, down to meet the ambulance so the ambulance could take it to the hospital. That's the kind of roads and driveways we got down here in Tennessee. So it gets a little crazy down here. I've already been stuck twice, got out on one on my own, and the other one I had to get towed out. So that was a unfortunate situation. But a little bit different when it comes to those things instead of up north, because mud up there is just a different type of mud. That's all. Why I'm talking about mud, I don't know. Probably because of all the rain coming through, what that's going to create. So a lot of flooding. Tennessee has a lot of flooding on the roads, a lot. If you look at the news tonight, you'll see Middle Tennessee and Western Tennessee are flooded out like you wouldn't believe. Well, not flooded out the whole area, but a lot of roads get flooded out. Happens all the time down here. It's a little weird. It's different. But we get a lot of rain. I guess that's good for those of us who live off the well water. You know what I mean? We're not on city water, so that's good. We get water. And those of us who are growing food or plants and stuff like that, that's good as well. So speaking of planting, I'm wondering how you're doing there, brother Jorge, on how close are you to getting that garden prepped up? I don't know how close you are. I gotta buy a mulcher. I have to buy a mulcher this week. So Lord willing, he finds one that's a decent price range and pick that up. We will not buy a tiller. We're going to do something a little different, I guess. We're going to do some old school tilling, and so we'll see how that works out. But the mulcher, we'll see what the cost on that is. But on the bright side, and the small investment of getting all these things ready, all the plants and the yard and so forth, the short-term investment has a long-term payout in the fact that you get to live off most of your food. Now, I realize not everybody has land. I don't even think I have a lot of land, but I have 2 acres, just shy. I think it's like 1.99. But I think it might be a little over that. Okay, so so you still have a little frost. And snow is almost gone. Boy, I got to really look at the weather up there. I think after work, I can go out there and doing some work. Okay. Out there doing some work. Start doing some work, right? Yeah. See, and that's we had to deal with that when we used to live up there in that area. And I'm glad that we don't have to deal with it because, again, being in Tennessee, you have more time to grow, which is nice. So your canning season and preparing for your winter season, it's almost as if you would have to prepare a lot less than we did up north because obviously we had to prepare for a longer period of time with our fruits and veggies and so forth. So we're excited to get that done. So, by the way, I guess the old way we're doing it of tilling is taking the tarp, and I end up having a large tarp that I took out of my tool shed because I had to reorganize that. And you lay that down on the ground, on the grass, and that'll kill the grass in probably a week or so instead of tilling. So that gets rid of that, and then we'll go in with topsoil and mulching, stuff like that. So once I get the mulcher, and we got plenty of fallen branches and twigs and leaves out in the woods that are beside us, and we'll compile that and make a whole mulching area. So I'll have to get that built at some point. Put together so I can what I'm trying to do is get that chute that goes over. You put the twigs in the trees, you get into that mulcher, and you shoot them over into the large. Think of a 3-bay compost area. So you got a 3-bay compost without walls, and then you put a slight door and a hinge, and you just put all the mulch in there. That way we can carry it or get a small trailer on the back of the lawnmower, and we'll just bring it out there. When we're having to do everything we have to do. So a lot of things things I knew, my wife knew, and things we're learning. It's like a of a lot of different things. But, people will call it, an ecosystem, so to speak, which will happen in the pond. And I believe the Lord has really blessed us with this land, not for just us, though. I do believe he has blessed us with this land, knowing that he can put his trust in us, that we're going to help others who are going to be in need of these things, of fruits and vegetables, like eggs. Just the other day, last week, I gave a brother Jeremy I work with. I gave him a dozen eggs. I didn't charge him for it. He's a Christian brother. Why would I charge him? That doesn't make any sense. And then he was talking to our boss, which he says he's a Christian, but I'm going to table that. But he was talking to him and eggs, and he's looking for some organic eggs and stuff like that. And I don't call them organic here. I just call them homestead fresh. So I said, yeah, I'll bring you in. So he goes, well, how much do you want for them? I'm like, I don't want anything for them. I'm like, I'm not charging you anything for them. And he goes, oh, no, I'll pay you for them. I'm like, well, yeah, whatever. So I brought in a dozen eggs and gave it to him the next morning. And he said, how much? And I says, nothing. And I just walked out of his office and walked away. But that's what I was talking about before, about if we have the opportunity to help a brother or sister out in some way, again, it doesn't have to be eggs, but we have to find opportunities where they are and to help people, because there's going to be people who are going to be in need. But I think, this is my opinion, I believe true born-again Christians already know that they have to be prepared and have known it for a while and have done the best that they can to do so. Now, there might be even newer ones, newer Christians who are born again, who haven't quite prepared to the same level, or budget constraints stop them from preparing. I can hear the rain starting to get a little more. Budget constraints keep them from preparing to a higher level. And even if you're just getting store-bought food and canned food and, Spam and tuna, obviously Spam being something that lasts forever. I know it's not the ideal thing, but when you're hungry, so just a little bit at a time. I don't know how much Spam goes for, to be honest with you. I know we got like 8 stacks of, I think of that. I don't even know how much we have, but a lot of that goes in time. I know white rice is not good for you. I understand that. My wife has us on brown rice, but brown rice is more expensive. White rice is not. So in times of need, and you need something, there you go. Now down here, like I said, we're preparing in a way that we'll be able to eat off our land. But whatever you're doing or wherever you are, if you do identify another saved person or born again, you come across where the Lord puts somebody in your path, it is your duty to help them in some small way. I don't know what it would be. Because I don't know what that moment would be, or who that person is that would need the help, but you'll know. And I'll tell you, you'll be judged pretty harshly on it, I think. I really do, because there are going to be some people who just need a little help. I don't mean government assistance help. You know how I feel about that? I don't think anybody, I do not believe any born-again, Bible-believing Christian should be on government assistance if possible. I just don't, especially if they can ably survive, ably work. I know, obviously, there are a couple of people that I know that served in the military for a brief spell, and they just get that military paycheck. I think Brother Jorge, I think you and I were talking about what was that like in the Israelite army? What was the pension like? They went back to work is what they did. But I don't want to go off track too much on that one. There are people who are able-bodied who can work and should prepare, because understand this: if you are relying on the government for anything, I don't even care if you think it's legitimate. There are people saying, well, I served for 5 years, 10 years, 2 years in the military, they owe me. First of all, I don't know about the owing part. That's an interesting a philosophy. I think this whole owe me something is an interesting thing, but it's all going to be gone at some point. And I wonder, unless you're scamming people and getting money from people and you're just putting that aside for a rainy day, but it's going to be gone, and you're not going to be relying on government. So the sooner, and this is not condemning anyone at all. That's not what my point is, but the sooner you get yourself off of that, the better you will be. And I don't normally do this, but I'll just take out. I don't even have the wrapper I had my stuff, but we have to be prepared, and I don't really like going into this whole all the time, old constitutional and stuff like that. But we have to be at some point a little more vigilant in how we're taking care of ourselves, our families. Oh, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 12, that ye may walk honestly toward them that are without, and that ye may have lack of nothing. Amen. Amen, sister. Good one. But what I was going to say was I don't normally like to get too much into the aspect of silver and gold a lot, things like that. But I'm just going to show you one item, and that's just a silver. I don't know if you could see that or not. It's just a silver dollar. That's all it is. But you can get smaller constitutional silver. I think dimes are $3. I try not to get into stuff because I like my videos to be biblical, but I think when I do videos during the week, I keep those Bible related. I don't stray from that. I don't make videos or Democrat videos and all that kind of stuff. I don't do that stuff. I don't get involved in it. Maybe I will. Maybe someone will tell me, hey, you really should, blah, blah, blah. But this is a live stream and we're talking as Christians, and this is how I would talk to a brother or sister. We need to buy these things. We need to do what you can. I think dimes, Walmart. I think silver dimes, because there's going to be time for bartering, and the more you have to barter with, and I know there are going to be people watching and say, Stephen, I can barely feed my family. I know that. I'm aware of that, and you will be protected. You will make it. You will be. Someone's going to come in your way. The Lord will put someone in your path. You keep on taking care of your family and focusing on that, because there are some of us out there who have, for whatever reason, the good Lord has seen fit to give us the ability to prepare these things, and it is incumbent on us to be able to help where we can. So when you see a family in need and they're struggling, and the time comes for bartering and things like that, we need to slip them a silver dollar or a dime. Dimes are like $3. I think quarters, for some reason, I think are a little higher than they should. In my area, they're running about $7. I think half dollars are running around 13, and full dollars are running about 30. But we have to be prepared, and we have to be ready to help each other. I've talked about this before. Brothers and sisters have to come together in some form or some way, and to look out for one another as time goes on, because the world will be against us. Without a shadow of a doubt, the world will be against us, and the more we are able to prepare, the better off we are. So, I don't know if that's a lecture or preaching. I don't know what that would be. I'm just saying that time is coming, and I've said this for years, before all the weird prophecy stuff. 2027, and I could be wrong. Obviously, I could be way off. But I just look at both a biblical timeline or timetable, sort of, and a gut feeling and historical context, and just a person who's enjoyed history and dived into a little bit throughout my life. And we're ripe. We're ripe for an incredible crash. And that's another thing with that bothers me a lot. Not with, never mind the secular world, but with do you remember 1929? Well, you don't remember because you didn't live through 1929, but 1929, we know of the crash. And here's the interesting part. I was just talking to somebody the other day. I said, we have more opportunity and more ability to prepare than ever before for a 1929 situation, and yet we're not. Very few of us are. It's astounding how many people who have not prepared. And I wonder why. I mean, since my wife and I have been married, we've always been working on preparing different ways and different systems. And there have been trials and errors of what the types of foods that might last longer than the other foods when have them freeze dried or frozen, things like that. But I'm worried about those who are not paying attention, too focused on everything going on. Trump this, the woke, the left, the right. And we're focused all on that Doge and what they're doing. And that's all fine, but yet not even preparing. Expecting the government to take care of the problems. I guess if you get paid by the government, actually, that's another thing I want to talk about. I was going to talk about this another time. But my opinion, you can agree with me or disagree with me. Leave it in the comments one day if you see this down the road. But the Bible talks about being a slave to a lender. Are you not a slave to the government? When you are paid by the government, when they are your lifeline, when you get paid by the government, whether it be disability, whether it be a pension from the government, whether any of those things, you take money from the government assistance, really. When you take that welfare, when you take all those things, especially when you can work, when you take all that from the government, are you not a slave and a servant to the government? I'm not saying you can't have a state parks job and you're working for the recreation. I'm talking about folks who collect money sitting home. All those people, and they're millions. There are millions of people. Are you not a slave to the government? Now, I can say, yes, we're a slave to the system because we work for the system, and wherever we work, and we have to get paid by them, which it wasn't that way. It wasn't always that way. We always bartered things and whatever people needed. Throughout the history of time, bartering has been a thing for centuries. The whole idea of getting a job and being paid by another man to the level of today is more of a modern concept. I guess, that global unity just creates a larger pool of people to be run by government facilities. Now, someone will say, "Well, I don't work for the government. I try to make my own way. I make some money at the flea markets and I sell on the side." I'm like, "That's wonderful." I'm like, "How do you do it?" He goes, "Well, I live in my mom's basement," and that happens. I'm like, "I live in my mom and my dad's. I live in their shed in the backyard." And although in Tennessee they turn sheds into houses, I'm not kidding you. And some of the sheds, go online someday and look at the sheds out there that exist here in Tennessee. They're like homes. They're like tiny homes. But I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about sheds. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. And I think more of us have to start confronting that, even if it's going to hurt someone's feeling. I just did that video a couple days ago. To work is to honor God. And that's important to know because we have to work. And what great way to show ourselves when we have to go out in the midst of it all. We honor God to be out there. We have to be ready to be out there and be there, be that light. Can't shine if you're hidden in a cave. You know what I'm saying? Not that anyone's living in an actual cave. Although I did watch a Discovery or National Geographic years ago where a guy built his house literally in a cave in a rock somehow. Anyways, got sidetracked. But there's going to be a time where we're going to be stepped up, and a lot of I think there are Christians who are holding on to the silver and the constitutional, and my fear is that they will be so consumed with owning this that they will never share. And I'm not saying share the wealth, but when somebody is in need, are you going to be able to help a brother who was not who prepared late, but he was preparing? And that's the key. Are you ready to help him or a sister? Now, I'm not talking about the ones who just, stuck their nose up in the air over the whole thing. But it's coming, and we need to be ready. And along with that, we have to be vigilant about preparing all food wise and bartering wise, but we need to stay rooted in our Bible, in the Word of God. We need to stay rooted, or we're going to be off track. And it's real easy to do. A lot of people fall into things. But again, like I said the other day in the video, when you see your brother or sister that you think may be, and you may be wrong, but if you think they might be, kind of in error or a little sliding a little off, just kind of, looks like you're falling for some things, a brother or sister, can I excuse me, can I have a conversation with you on the side? And by the way, that's how it should be. Have a conversation on the side. You go to that brother and you confront them, not in an angry way, but do it with love, do it in a biblical fashion. And again, if he's not willing to, and he says, hey, you're wrong, then you bring it to the next level. You bring it to other people. And that doesn't, like I said a long time ago, that doesn't happen. People are just like, nope, disagree, see ya. Well, if you're in fellowship with a group, okay, let's say you have a house church. Let's say you have a chat forum. Let's say you have a fellowship online in a Zoom or a StreamYard, wherever it may be. Well, you have to bring it to everyone. If you don't, you are in error and you are in sin. And that has to be rectified. You have to reconcile that whole situation. You can't just like, nope, disagree, see it, goodbye. Unless someone's done something extreme, murdered someone, not kill, murder. People kill other people, unfortunately, in war, and that's part of that. And sadly, that's where a lot of division happens, because of selfishness and self-righteousness. But we need to help brothers and sisters out here. Before we start, throwing stones, trying to stone somebody, why don't we figure out the issue and the problem, deal with it accordingly with Scripture, and then move on from there? Now, maybe that brother or sister cannot be reconciled. Maybe it just ain't going to happen because they refuse. Maybe you brought it to their attention, and then you brought it to the next level, and they just said to the whole group, no, you're all wrong. Well, it's time for them and you to split at that point in time. But if you don't bring it to the brethren, you have sinned. And I'll say to anybody watching this now or later on down the road, if you are in a situation where you're dealing with someone who has said, hey, listen, that person wasn't right and we part ways. Well, if it's a fellowship, a forum, a fellowship in a Zoom or Microsoft, whatever, if it's not brought to the rest of the people, you need to ask, well, why? It doesn't, well, don't worry about it. We're just going to split ways. Well, that's your red flag. That is a serious red flag. They're in error. They're in sin. They haven't brought it to the people, to the brethren. Right there, not only did they disrespect the order of things, they disrespect the brethren by not bringing it to the brethren with that person they're accusing something of. They have to be judged by the jury of their peers. I don't mean out there, I mean in the biblical realm. They need to be judged by all and hear the stories. If they do not, and that does not take place, then that's a major violation and a major sin. Those are just the facts. I don't make them. I just read them from the Bible. That's it. That's all there is to it. It is literally that simple. And then again, if you decide to part ways and you go a different direction, so be it. Where are my glasses? I'm looking. Oh, here they are. See, I need my glasses. I'm so blind. I was trying to look at the clock there, but I couldn't see it. All right. So that's what I got on that. And I'm listening to the rain coming, a little bit of the rain. And it's not pouring bad yet. Not bad. So it looks like the worst of it's gonna, when I was looking at the radar, it's gonna be about after 9. So by that time, I'll be done here. We'll be wrapped up at 9 o'clock, hopefully. But sometimes I'm long-winded. I admit that, So that's I don't know if anybody else has anything to say about that. If they want to jump in, that's fine as always. I'm always a talking. I'm always a talker. But I would just say those are red flags. Be careful of that because there are men out there, and there are a lot of them. I'd like to say there's a half a dozen or to a dozen, but there's more than that. And yes, someone could accuse me of being in error. They can accuse me of being a sinner. They can accuse me of being being a heretic or spouting off heresies and stuff like that. And that's okay. You have the free will to do so. But then you have to back that up. And once you make an accusation, you have to bring evidence. Once you bring the evidence, you bring it to the people. If you're going to accuse someone, you need to accuse them to their face. You need to bring it to them. And the brethren of surround, everybody has to be in on this. Everybody's got to be in the same video screen, Zoom, StreamYard, forum, whatever it may be. It has to go that way. If it is not, whoever is involved in this, are in major sin and violation. Please understand that. A lot of young people don't get that because they've grown up in this whole, just accuse and run. It's a drive-by hit. That's kind of how they grow up. And and unfortunately, even the church buildings out there, the churches online and churches offline, they participate in that same approach a lot of times. This whole attack with no evidence and just gossip and hearsay and slander. It's pretty sad. And I said this before. I've seen it. I've seen it happen. I've heard of it happening. It's unfortunate. So just look for those red flags. When we're just yelling and screaming, accusing people of things, you better have evidence because you're not going to be taken care of by the person you're accusing, because whatever that person and that born again Christian should not be punching anybody in the face, but anything they say to you is not going to compare to the judgment you will face for not following the rules of the Bible. And I'm talking about the New Testament. I'm not talking about Mosaic law. It's not what I'm talking about. So be careful. That's my warning to anybody. You see that happening out there, red flag. What's the new thing they call it? Brother Jorge, you can help me out. What do they call it when all these guys now are telling you to avoid people? Mark and avoid. That's what it is. Mark and avoid. Mark and avoid. A lot of those videos out there. That's a person you want to mark and avoid. If they fail to bring everyone to the table to face or to listen to the accuser and the accused, they have sinned. And they have it's a pretty vulgar sin. I'm trying to think of a better word. They're in error. They're not following. Those type of people tend to treat the Bible as a buffet table, which I will be completely honest. My wife gave me that one time, the buffet table idea, and I've run with it ever since. And they do treat it, and they're willing to follow some things, but they don't want to follow other things because it doesn't work for them. Again, it's not the Bible doesn't work for you. The Bible doesn't fit you. You fit the Bible. We've said this before. So your personal feelings and your emotions, you got to separate them. Because the Word of God says what the Word of God says. That's it. That's all there is to it. It's really cut and dry. And there'll be people who preach that too. That's really cut and dry. And then they make it complex. I thought you said it was cut and dry. It's simple. He goes, well, not this part. This part, so you have to understand. Sometimes the Bible can get complex in areas, but some things are pretty simple. So, with that being said, I don't think I got a lot more to add to that. I'm going to try to be really good tonight. I'm going to really try to keep it under an hour because I'm at 45 minutes, and I don't think we're going to go the hour. I think we'll be good. I think we're going to make it. I'm working on something for tomorrow. I don't know if it'll come out. If you're subscribed to my channel, you might want to check my channel because I've been I've been putting it in out there without hitting the notify subscribers, in the hopes of reaching some other people, not just only subscribers, but other people who maybe can glean something from this. That's the goal there. If it works, it works. All right. Well, we're 45 minutes in. I think I'm trying to be safe here because I think that storm's going to roll in, and I think it's going to get a little worse in a few minutes. I can hear it picking up a little bit in the rain out there, which means if thunderstorms roll in, we chance the internet. And I hate to go out like that. So I want to wind this down. I want to wrap this up. And if there's anything else anybody wants to add, obviously we're missing a couple of folks this evening, but that's okay. Even at 8 o'clock, I put this at 8 o'clock, set 9 o'clock, but I guess when you get older, you got to go to bed earlier, you know? Well, what can I tell you? All right. With that being said, thank you. I do appreciate those who are watching now, Brother Jorge, Prov Gal. I'm thankful. I really am. Always will be. Down the road and people down the road. Thank you for taking the time. So with that, I will say God bless. And I can't believe I made under an hour. If I don't talk to somebody during the week, I'll see you next week. Good night.